Hello, hello. Welcome on a Thursday night. I feel like anyone who is here with me on a Thursday night are my people, right? You're using your own time because you are ready to do something about this. So I'm not going to waste any of it. We're not going to start with these long intros and tell me about your life and everybody da da da. But while a couple people are logging on, and as we start in the next 60 seconds, I would love for you to jump in the chat. You can, of course, tell us where you're from, but since this is, a corporate webinar, why don't you go ahead and tell me what industry you're in, what kind of function or role that you're in? One of the coolest things about my clients is that they are from all over the country, giant companies. I'm talking about Fortune 10 companies, the largest privately held company in the world, and small mom and pops, regional companies that are great and successful you've never heard of, all over the place and in every industry. So jump into the chat and tell me what kind of role or industry that you're in, and let's get rolling. So, I am Shayla King, and I want to talk to you today a little bit before we even jump in about why you should listen to me. Because if you're new and you don't know me, and you're like, who is this lady? Let's get into it. So, I've been in your shoes. I was a global HR and M&A leader, and I was a single mom living with 4 autoimmune diseases. So, trust me when I say I know the pressure that comes with trying to juggle and balance it all. And for about 10 years, I was stuck in middle management, and I was working harder and harder, always thinking that that is what was going to get me there, is by being the hardest worker around. Have you ever said like, oh, don't worry, I'll get that done between 11 and midnight? Have you ever said that before? That was me all the time. I'm just going to keep adding it to my list. And so I was fortunate enough that I led training and development at some of the biggest companies in the world. And so I got to really see behind the curtain on why some leaders get stuck in middle management and some leaders get chosen for those executive roles and to move up. And so during today's session, I am going to show you behind the curtain and what really goes on in the decision-making rooms and why some people make it to the top and some people don't. We've all seen people who have risen above us, gotten promoted, and you're like, they are not as capable as me. Why is it happening for them and it's not happening for me? So throughout this session today, I want you guys to be interactive in the chat. You can tell me whether or not something's resonating with you by a trick that I typically do in in-person conversations. And it's something called This to Five. So I am the host of the 5% Club podcast. And we call it that because you know how everyone wants to make it to the top 10%, the top 10% of performers and of earners? Well, let's be honest. Half the people at the top are miserable. So we're doing it different over here. We call it the 5% Club. So if anything that I say resonates with you, if you're like, yep, heard that, seen that, been that, then I want you to just give me a 5 in the chat. And you can do it with a emoji. You can do it with the number 5, whatever you want. But that way we'll just stay interactive throughout, and feel free to add in any questions that you have as we go. So the good news is, after being stuck in middle management, I figured it out. It took a while. I'm going to let you guys in on exactly what I learned, but I ended up making it to the C-suite by 40. And I was leading mergers and acquisitions for a $7 billion company, and I was a chief people officer. So I was able to figure that out while having luxurious amounts of time for my children and nailing my health goals and happiness in general. And so I am now full-time sharing this with everyone else. I know it's my calling. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. So I help leaders increase their performance, increase their pay, get promoted, and be happy. Everything I do is the performance and happiness formula because I care about your whole damn life, not just the career, not just the promotion. Sound good? All right, let's jump in. So this is the promotion playbook. We are going to be talking exactly about why some leaders get stuck in middle management. Yes to all of it. 555. All right. So you might be here today because you want more visibility, more pay, an opportunity without burning yourself out. You're great at your job, but you feel stuck in middle management. You're balancing constant pressure at work with family responsibilities, and it feels unsustainable. or you know you are meant for more, but you're not sure how to get here. And so the other thing, I know a lot of you came because you want to hear about the Performance and Happiness Lab and you have questions, and I will answer those, but I'm going to go through the whole class first for those of you that came for the class. And I know some of you came for the show up bonus as well, which is the Working Mom Survival Guide. And so as soon as we're done with the class, we're going to send that to you, and then I'll open it up for questions so that I can answer anything that you have around the material we covered today or the Performance and Happiness Lab. Sound good? One other question that I got, we did the same webinar yesterday, and I have gotten this question in the past as well, is this just for women? Is this just for moms? And here's the deal. When I was in corporate, I was coaching and training 90% men, right? And about 10% women, because that's who the executive companies that I worked for, that was their makeup. 90% men, 10% women, right? And so I love men. I absolutely coach men. But now in my practice, it's flipped because there are things that are different for women, right? We do have this expectation to work like we don't have kids and to mom like we don't have a job. Anybody resonate with that kind of pressure? And so a lot of what I talk about will be unapologetically towards helping women in leadership. And so what I say is that I coach powerhouse women and a few good men. So in my practice, it's about 80% women and about 20% men. So men, you are absolutely welcome. Just know we're going to be talking about all of the things here today. And it is the same formula of what helps leaders become successful. We're just going to add in a lot more about how to deal with the mom guilt, the balance, the being pulled in all the directions, and having that 24/7 job of being a mom as well. Sound good? All right. So I want to start by telling you a quick story about me in my late 20s. And this will all tie into what we're talking about today, and it'll be quick. But I had the American dream, dual income family. I was a global business leader. I had the 2 kids, I had the 2 dogs, everything but the picket fence, right? And you know, it's supposed to be the American dream. And yet I was exhausted. I was physically sick. I was going through a messy divorce, and I kept getting told that I had another autoimmune disease and then another autoimmune disease. I mean, my body was shutting down. One day I woke up and my arm was frozen. It was frozen in place like this. I thought I was permanently paralyzed. And so I go to the doctor and he looks at me and he can't figure out what to do with me. And so he says, okay, Shayla, I need you to go lay down in the exam room. And then I'm going to research some more and figure out what to do. And guess what I said? Okay, but here's the thing. I just have this presentation at work. And so just real quick, I'm gonna drive to work, give the presentation, and then I'll come back. And y'all, he looked at me like I was a little green alien. And so I went. I don't know if you guys have ever felt this. Let me know if you have, where you just feel like it's the one meeting that matters. Like I have to do a good job in this meeting. It's my one chance to prove to them what I'm capable of. It's the one time that I'm invited. And if I screw this up, I'm never going to be invited again. Yeah. So we put so much of that pressure on ourselves. I almost call it like FOMO, like fear of missing out, but in the workplace. And a lot of it is unnecessary pressure because we do get more than these opportunities, but it feels like the only freaking one. So I drove to work and I held a manila envelope up over my arm. So I was literally, I'm going to try to go back and forth in the presentation so we can get some like, more personal. I hate it when the person's the little bubble in the corner and I'm like here and I'm real and I want you to be able to see that. So I drove to the company and I put a manila folder over my arm and hoped nobody would notice that my arm was frozen in place. So dumb. So I went back to the doctor and he couldn't believe that I had left and went to work. And he looked at me in the eyes and he said, Shayla, if you do not slow down, you will die. He gave me an injection. He tried to straighten it out. It still wouldn't relax down. And I drove home with one arm to go pick up my kids from daycare. And as I pulled into that parking lot, I just kept replaying that over and over again. If you do not slow down, you will die. At that point, I was going through that messy divorce. I knew that I was the sole provider for my children now. And so I just knew I had to find a way. And so I remember holding onto the steering wheel with one arm, tears coming down my eyes. And I said, I will find a way because I wanted my children. I had two little girls. They were 2 and 4 at the time. I wanted them to see a mom who was an amazing mom, who was, in the moment with them, that was healthy and happy, that also went after her dreams, that also didn't hold back her ambition, that there was nothing dirty and nothing bad about it, and that I was good at my career and I should be unapologetic about it. But I had never seen a woman do that. Let me know, fist to five, if that resonates with you. Have you ever found someone who was successful at work, as a mom, and was happy and healthy? Yeah, I worked for Coke Industries for a while. There was 35,000 employees, 3 women above me. And I knew one of them well. And she was a great mom and a great employee. And she was dead freaking tired all the time. Right? The other two had stay-at-home husbands. And I don't know the rest of their story, but I never had that one person to look up to that says, oh, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. But I knew that there had to be a way. So I started obsessively studying 3 things. First, what makes some people more successful than others? And at that time, I was leading training and development at Boeing. And so I had a kind of a head start in that area. The second was what makes some people happier than others. And the third was what makes some people healthier than others. So I put those 3 together. I learned everything that I could and I started experimenting. Some of it, of course, failed miserably. Some of it worked great. And then it started all clicking. And I couldn't believe it. I kept getting promoted. I kept working less and less. I kept getting paid more. I would not miss my kids' events. And I was thinking for a long time, like, someone's gonna find out. Like, I'm not gonna get away with this, right? Someone is gonna find out. And they didn't. They started seeing me as a leader that was strategic, that always did what she said she was going to do. I just didn't say I was going to do everything, right? That focused on the higher impact activities. And I got even more value added for my company than I ever had. And so that is what I came up with the performance and happiness formula. So let me show you what it did for me. My assistant's going to be so proud. I'm like a boss now at going back and forth on my slides. Okay. Can we see that? Okay. Is everyone getting the good image? See, when I did that, I can no longer see what you're seeing. Tell me in the chat if it's all working for you. Yeah, I think we're good. Okay. Perfect. So after the performance and happiness lab, after creating the performance and happiness formula, I led global M&A for a $7 billion company. I worked less while making more than I ever had. I never missed a child's birthday or a work trip. I lost 30 pounds and kept it off. This is a story for another day, but I survived a coma with a grateful attitude, and I made it to the C-suite by 40 with luxurious. This is one of the things I'm most proud of. I have luxurious amounts of time for myself and my family. And I remarried, and I have a beautiful blended family with 5 kids. And now, for the past 3 years, full time, I coach others to increase their performance, their pay, and their happiness. So let's jump into why so many leaders get stuck in middle management, okay? So it's something that I call the tragedy of the high performer. And this is what it looks like. So we're going to imagine that you have a plate of work in front of you, and that plate has salmon, rice, and asparagus on it, okay? And you're new to the company and you're going in and you're doing a good job. And then they say, hey, John over here isn't doing as good with his plate of rice. Do you think you could take some of the rice onto yours? And you know what you say? Of course I can. Oh my God, this is so cool. Like, you even come home and you tell your spouse, like, they're trusting me with more. This is exciting. I really get to show what I'm made out of. And you do it. And you do a great job with it. And then they give you a bonus. They give you a promotion. They tell you how needed you are and how much they appreciate you. Does this sound familiar? Fist to five? Yeah. So at first, you are appreciated, you're needed, and you're excited about it. And then they go, hey, you know what else? Frank also, he needs some help with his salmon. Do you think you could take that on? You're like, of course I can. Yes, ma'am, I can do that. And you're so excited to show them what you're made out of. But then it keeps being a little more and a little more, and you're not incrementally getting paid for it anymore. You're not incrementally getting the promotions anymore. And so what happens is one day it ends up looking a little bit different than where you started. So it ends up looking a little something like this. Does that look familiar? Yeah. So we end up where John on your team has this little tiny salad. Maybe it's like a roll on just a little dinner roll. And then the new person has that salmon and the asparagus and the rice that you started with. And then there's you on the right with the 17 platters trying to balance them. And it's exhausting. And you can barely keep up. And guess what? Your boss doesn't even seem to see you the same way anymore. Now, instead of being the all-star employee, you're like, I don't know. They do a good job. And I definitely don't want to replace them because you know what I'd have to do? I'd have to hire 3 of them. Right? I'm not going to replace her. I'd have to hire 3. Does that relate? Yeah. And you know what? I can't give her the strategic project because she's got way too much on her plate. Can't take that off right now. This work that they're doing right now is way too important. And you know what? They're kind of like my catch-all, right? I love having that utility player on the team that I can really just hand anything to. And so they're really good at being that for me. So no, we don't want them to get the promotion. And I want you to take a guess out of these 3 plates. Tell me who gets paid the most. You guys have all seen this before. Small salad is one guess. Catch-all. Yeah, Sabrina. The catch-all. And in some ways, you're like, I want to be a utility player. I love the idea that I'm like so multifaceted that I can just jump in and do a great job. But damn, at the same time, like I want the promotion and I can do a great job at that promotion. And sometimes you're just so freaking tired day to day too that you don't look like you have the energy for more. And so when your boss and team looks at you and they say, can she take on the next big initiative? You're like, I don't know. It seems like she's struggling with what she's got now. I don't know that we want to give her more or different or bigger. So the answer, if you're wondering on who gets paid the most, is that middle plate. You know why? It's the new person at your company, right? Don't they always bring in the new person a little higher? Because you've been getting your nice 3 or 5% raises that you should be grateful for. Has anyone been told that they should be grateful? Grateful for the raises that they've gotten? You know, not everyone even got one last year. You really should be grateful. We still brought Jim in at 20K more than you, but you know, you've gotten some good raises. Yeah, cry face is right. It's just kind of ridiculous because you're doing the 17 plates, but that new person that comes in with the evenly plate is making more than you. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about it. This is what most leaders think, why most leaders think they are stuck and exhausted. Tell me if these resonate with you. It's a bad company, right? I just got to get out of this place. And maybe it used to be good, but things just change. Leadership changed, the structure changed, the ownership changed. It's just different than it used to be. Or I just got a really shitty boss right now. I hate my boss. If I could get a new boss, everything would be different. Or people take advantage of me. You know, I just give and I give and I give and they just take advantage of me. Or it's impossible for a woman to juggle it all. Like, let's just give up. It's not even a thing. Having it all is a myth, or it's coming. I just have to keep my head down. Has anyone been told that? I felt like I was like patted on the head a lot, right? Like, no, you're doing great. Just keep doing great things and great things will happen. And then you're like, Steven just got the promotion. I didn't even know that job was available. And you go, what do I have to do? Do you have feedback for me? Like, what can I do to get the role next time? And here's what they normally say. Oh, no, 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 you're doing fine. You're doing really good. Just keep doing a good job. Good things will happen. But no one tapped you, right? And so that is what we are talking about when we say that why most leaders are stuck and exhausted. But here's what you actually need to get out of that. First, under results, you're missing some executive skill sets. Second, under relationships, a lack of image and exposure. And this is why when you're balancing 17 plates, you know what you're doing? You're at your desk with your head down, right? You're not out there proactively networking to create those relationships. You're just trying to get home. And so a lack of image and exposure is critical because if they don't know who you are, it doesn't matter how good you are, right? The third is rituals, and it's a lack of emotional regulation and energy. So I do a lot of work with my clients on this, where you can be in the exact same job, but feel completely different. And that's because we learn how to have this emotional regulation. There's a really fun episode on the podcast called Silly Little People. And it talks about how silly little people do silly little things and how to keep our peace when they do. And we have to have the physical energy. We have to have the energy to where they say, of course I can give it to her. She easily manages all of her work. Of course, she's the perfect person for this new project. Not, God, she looks like she's in survival mode. And I can't tell you how many of my clients come to me after they've had something physical happen to them. I'm talking about going so far with those plates of work and trying to just figure out how to be more productive that I had a client recently get a UTI because she never got up from her desk to go to the bathroom or drink water. Right? Like, this is serious stuff. And we keep trying to work our way out of it, but that's not the solution. And we've got Dr. Anna on the chat sharing her experience. She is one of my clients. All right, I'll read it aloud for those that are on video because you don't get to see the chat. It says, I have to share my experience with Shayla. This was me. I met Shayla at exactly the right time in my life. I was in a partnership that wasn't working, stressed out, and looking for a way out. Over the past 10 months, she has guided me through one of the scariest transitions of my career, leaving that situation and launching my own solo practice. The night before my business plan was due, oh, I remember this, on her birthday, my birthday, she reviewed it, saw it wasn't great, and instead of celebrating with her family, stayed late and completely rewrote it. That selfless act changed, now I might cry, Dr. Anna, changed my entire trajectory. Today, I'm running my practice with confidence. Yes, you are. And the growth she's helped me achieve is clear, not just to me, but to my colleagues, staff, and family. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Anna. Everything that we work on is around empowering you. And I remember that night, it was on my birthday, but she had to have the business plan to the bank the next day. Like, there was no options on the timeline. So it had to happen. And, I have one of my other clients was talking about the other day about like how much experience that I've had. So when I led mergers and acquisitions, my job was to coach the CEOs and the lead teams to not only have a good culture and leadership skills, but to have a great business. And that meant increasing revenue, decreasing cost. And so working in a P&L and figuring out profit and loss statements, I mean, these are all things that I'm experienced in. And so being able to help clients with whatever it is that you need in that moment is absolutely where my heart is. And this is why I say this is my life's work. So thank you so much, Dr. Anna, for sharing that with us today. Awesome. Okay. And then the final piece on here is mindset. So you might still be thinking like the 5% and the 95%. And instead, we're going to have a 5% mindset. And it honestly changes the way you experience life. It changes how empowered you are. And that's part of what Dr. Anna was talking about. She's a badass CEO. She's a doctor, a surgeon, and she owns her own practice and is a badass CEO. And the amount of confidence she has in her decisions now and how she is running her business is something I'm really proud of. And that comes with the mindset work of knowing you're capable, knowing you're in charge, knowing where your decision rights lie, making decisions and moving on, right? Being decisive is a key skill set of any great executive. All right. So let's jump in. Here's what we're going to go through in the promotion playbook today. These are the 4 areas that after 20 years of leading leadership development, I have come to find are the exact areas that you need to be a high performing and happy executive. So I teach this in the Performance and Happiness Lab. It's a 3-month container and we have 12 modules, 3 in each of these categories that are exactly what you need. Now, obviously, I can't put 3 months into this call, but what I'm going to do for you is we're going to go through each section and I'm going to give you something real and tangible that you can start applying immediately. Sound good? All right, let's go. So the first section is results. And under results, these are the 3 areas that everyone needs to master. So I'm going to take a drink and let you look through those. Okay, so the first one, let's go through executive presence today. So I want you to imagine Eager Eddie. And this is going to be hilarious because you're going to go to a meeting this week and I want you to look for Eager Eddie. And here's what Eager Eddie looks like. So he's in the meeting. And I know tonight I have to talk into a microphone so you can hear me. But imagine that I am at my desk and I'm in the meeting and we're in the conference room and Eager Eddie's leaning really far forward. You know what I mean? Because he's got to jump in. You know why he's got to jump in? Because he's got to prove to everybody how smart he is. And so he's going to say some, wait, like literally like jumping in. You ever seen an Eager Eddie? Got to get my word in. I'm waiting for somebody to take a breath. Please let me speak. I've got to prove that I'm smart. I've got to prove that I deserve this seat. So give me a fist of 5 if you've ever seen an Eager Eddie before. Yeah. We've all seen them and we've probably even been them sometimes, right? That's okay. I've definitely been there myself. And remember when I told you earlier that I went to that meeting because I had to go with my arm frozen instead of looking after myself? It's because I was insecure about my position. It's because I was insecure about my value. And if you can flip that off by reminding yourself how safe you are, how secure you are, how you have everything that you need, and how capable you are. And if you can remind yourself that they invited you to the meeting for a reason, that you belong there, then you stop centering yourself like Eager Eddie is. He's centering himself on himself. He's in the meeting worried about himself. I need to look good. I need to prove my worth. You know what your CEO looks like? Leaned back, relaxed, listening to everyone's ideas in the room. What is your CEO focused on? It's not about proving that he deserves a seat. He's already the CEO, right? You know what it's about? He's focused on the business. What in this conversation is the best path forward, the best decision for the business? And if we can get more people to have more self-esteem and feel more secure, we can change businesses through this kind of work. Because then everyone in the room stops focusing on themselves and trying to prove and starts focusing on moving the business forward. Make sense? And so when Eager Eddie shows up, it looks like one of 3 things. So it either looks like he's really junior. You know, the intern that just doesn't know business acumen yet. So they don't know when they're supposed to speak and how they're supposed to interrupt and when to interject and when to, keep things to yourself, what questions to ask during the meeting and when to ask a colleague later to get caught up. Some of it's the junior guy. And I want you to tell me which of these you've seen at your company. So have you seen the junior guy? Tell me in the comments. The second one is the aggressive guy or the aggressive gal who's just going to take over the conversation and tell you their opinion. And they're the smartest in the room, so they're going to direct and control the conversation, right? So we've got the junior guy. We've got the aggressive guy. And you know what the third one is? This is the one that I think is even maybe worst of all, the desperate guy. And that Eager Eddie that I gave you as an example seems pretty desperate, right? And so have you guys seen those 3 types in the workplace? Eager, desperate, or aggressive? Yeah. So those will hold you back. And you've got to learn instead that you already deserve the seat at the table, that they're inviting you for a reason, and just calm down your own nervous system so that you are able to react instead with just a calm executive approach, right? The calm executive approach that worries about the business problem at hand, that speaks when they're going to add value, that lets other people talk and really listens and then solves the business problem. And that's the kind of thing that we go deep into in executive presence. And we notice those details about how you're sitting at the table, what you're saying and how. If you're nervous and if you're, itching all the time or doing fidgeting with your hands or playing with your hair. Anyone ever had to break a habit of playing with your hair? I work with some clients on that. And so we work on the full gamut that has to do with executive presence. We also work on executive essentialism and executive strategy, systems, and storytelling. And what I love about executive essentialism is the number one reason people worry about joining the Performance and Happiness Lab is because they think they're not going to have time. And the number one thing that people love in the first 30 days is how much time they've gotten back. Because we go through executive essentialism, we teach you how to pull things out of your calendar. We teach you how to have discernment into what matters most and what doesn't, what's actually getting you promoted, getting you paid, and getting you out of all of that office housework. I also have to teach you how to stop volunteering yourself for things. And some of you might relate to that it's not only that you're being voluntold, but you're also volunteering yourself. Can anyone relate to that? Give me a 5. Yeah, that's why they say that it doesn't matter where you go, you bring yourself with you. All right. Next one is relationships. This is where I said it does not matter how good you are if they don't know who you are. And this is especially true for women. Most women do not have the executive network men do. There's a variety of reasons for that we talk about, but we always work on is instead of going back in time and why didn't I do this? Why shouldn't I do this? Where did this come from? We say, what are we going to do about it? Right? And so you'll actually create your plan and it will be for both inside of your company and outside of your company. So I just did a podcast that you can find that's called FU Money, FU Relationships, and FU Skill Set. And it's how you bulletproof your career. I want you to have a Rolodex of people. If you're too young, a Rolodex is a way that we used to organize phone numbers. But I want you to have a Rolodex of people that you can call and say, hey, my company did layoffs today, so I'm now in the job market. What do you got? And they already know you, like you, trust you, know you're capable, right? That's how you bulletproof your careers, by having those relationships ahead of time before you need them. I told you I'd give you examples about behind the curtain. And so I want to bring you in with me into the room where these decisions are being made. So imagine that I'm in a lead team meeting and Frank says, hey, just wanted to let you guys know, John put in his notice this morning, so he's going to be leaving in 2 weeks. And the table goes, darn, John's leaving? So who are you going to have replace him? You guys, it's that quick. There is a semicolon. John's leaving, dang. Who are you going to have replace him? And immediately the manager goes, yeah, I was thinking Peter. Peter told me that this is the role that he's looking for. And, he did pretty good on that account. So I think he's probably ready. You know what happens next? Everyone at the table goes, Peter. Yeah, I think I could see Peter in that role. I think that makes sense. Okay, cool. And then someone in the room goes, but don't forget, HR is going to make you post the role. So make sure you call your HR lady. Right? You're going to have to post the role. I know. I'll call her in the morning. I'll let Peter know to apply. So the manager posts the role, tells Peter it's going to be opening up and to apply. And then Samantha sees the role. And Samantha goes, oh my God, I'm perfect for this role. I used to do this at my last company. I've had this experience now at this company. I'm perfect for it. Right? So now I want you to imagine you have 45 minutes to convince a leader who has already pre-decided and had weeks to think about how good Peter's going to be in the role, how he's going to shift other work around on the team. You have 45 minutes to disprove why Peter is great and prove why you're better. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but can you see how much of an uphill battle that is at that point in time? Yeah, it's not too late, but it's close. And so just imagine if you were Peter. That's what we want for you. We want the decision makers to know what you want. So I have a process that I take you through called Know and Declare. So you can actually say what you want. And then we create an entire map of all of the people that you need to talk to and build those relationships with. It's the decision makers, it's the connectors, it's the mentors, and they're inside and outside of your company, right? So the one action I want you to take from this section today is that I want you to think of 3 people, and they can be inside of your company and at least one that's outside of your company, that you need to establish or reignite a relationship with. People that if you talked to would either be a decision maker for a role that you want in the future or be a connector. Have you guys ever heard of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon? That's what a connector is. A connector is somebody who's always saying, oh, yeah, you need to talk to Tommy. Tommy's great at that. He knows everybody in that organization. Or, oh, yeah, go talk to Carla in finance. She's great at running all those capital expenditure projects, right? So you're either going to find the decision maker or the connector. Make sense? Because it doesn't matter how good you are if they don't know who you are. And raising your hand after the fact is making it really hard. All right? Great. Let's jump. And we also go through boundaries and personal relationships because, again, everything that I care about is you love in your whole damn life. And a lot of executives tell me that when they get home, you can give me a fist of 5 on this, that when they get home, they're exhausted. They feel like they left all their energy at work. I had one client who told me when I walk in the door, I'm just saying to myself, please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. She said, I love my husband and my daughter, but I'm just so worn out from work that that's what comes to mind for me. Right? And so what we want for you is we want you to have that energy when you get home. We want you to have the boundaries when you get home. So let me go back to sharing my screen. All right. So we go through the boundaries and we go through the personal relationships as well under that category. And the next one is rituals. So physical energy, emotional energy, and designing joy in your life. And I have a lot of clients who come to me at the beginning and they're like, when you say designing joy, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like I'm surviving over here, Shayla, and like barely cultivating joy. That could not seem further away from me. And by the end of it, they're designing epic adventures. They're going on more vacations than they ever have. They have regular date nights. They're doing cute, fun things with their kids, and they feel like they have luxurious amounts of time for the things that matter most. So it's a really fulfilling area. But I want to talk to you today and give you one idea for physical energy. So there's a leadership book by Brendon Burchard where he talks about high-performing CEOs. And this stat was just crazy to me. The high-performing CEOs have the same athletic ability as professional athletes. Isn't that wild? It kind of makes sense though, right? You have to have stamina for the things that are expected of you. At that level, the amount of pressure and the back-to-backs, and your CEO is not getting a UTI and is not getting up for water. Your CEO is not crying in the bathroom. Your CEO is not rushing into meetings like I used to do, like Kramer, like coming in at the last second. I'm here, right? Your CEO is calm and collected and has the energy and the stamina to be successful. And so we've got to build those healthy habits for you that will give you the physical energy, not only for work, but when you come home to your family. And so for today's webinar, I want to give you a 2-minute meditation lesson that you can use to help yourself transition. And I love this one for the end of the workday before you go in with your family. And so for 1 minute, you're going to close your eyes and you're just going to say, release, 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 release. And you're going to release any tension you have in your body. And then for the next minute, you're going to imagine the situation that you're going into. You're going to imagine how you want to feel, and you're going to imagine how you want your children or your spouse to feel when they see you. And it's just a beautiful way of letting go the stress from the last thing you were in and preparing for the right energy for the thing that you're going into. You know, when you go home and like your dog is so excited to see you all the time? Well, this is like a game changer. This is the business leader, and I used to be it, that comes in and is still finishing a work call. And so I'm coming in the door and I'm like, oh, and my kids run up to me so excited to see me. And they go, hold on. Hold on just a minute. I'll be off in a few minutes. Da, 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 da. And I watch the joy. Like it's going to make me cry. I would watch the joy come out of their eyes. I would watch their head sink and them turn and walk away all sad. For a while, I just started like parking down the street and finishing my call so that when I walked in and doing that meditation in the car, so that when I walked in, I'm like, hey, I'm so excited to see you. Come stay with me. Tell me about your day. Right? It's such a difference in how we interact with our loved ones. And it takes 2 minutes. So that's a really fun one in this category. All right. And again, emotional energy, check out that podcast that is on Silly Little People Do Silly Little Things. And we're going to give you, actually, Abby, you can go ahead and put it in now. We're going to give you that show up live bonus. And it's the Working Mom Survival Guide. And in it, it's going to be 9 things you can stop doing right now. But it also is going to have 3 different podcast episodes on how to make your life easier and simpler. So check those out and you'll get some really great tools that will help you simplify everything. All right. And then finally is the 5% King mindset. And so I teach a tool called the model. It's completely life changing. And it helps you reverse engineer any situation to understand why you're getting the results you're getting and how you can get them differently by choosing a different thought. So it's too much to go into today, but it is a way that we all speak the same language and you're able to self coach. And so even in between our sessions, you're able to help yourself. And it's just phenomenal. The second area is high value cycles and low value cycles. And so what I teach you is we're all going to have both. We're going to have high values and we're going to have low values, but I keep you from going as deep for as long in a low value cycle. And then when to let go and when to take charge. Has anyone out here read the Let Them book by Mel Robbins, The Let Them Theory? So it's really powerful. And you can tell me in the chat if you've seen the Let Them book. Yeah. So it teaches us how we all have kind of a playbook for how we want other people to live their life, right? And it would be really convenient for me if you could follow my playbook. And when you don't, I think you're in the wrong because this is how you're supposed to live life and what you're supposed to do. And it's inconvenient for me. And so, what this teaches us to do is we get to run our lives by our playbook and everyone else gets to run theirs by theirs. And so, how can we just love them through it and not try to change people? And then, if they do something, if they step on our toes, then how are we able to decide what we're going to do about it? And so, we learn that in the boundaries section as well, where we get to say, when you do this, I'm not going to change you. I'm not telling you not to do it. You can do whatever you want. But when you do this, here's what I'm going to do. So a really simple example of that is, let's say that you're in the car with somebody who's smoking and they're driving. Well, they can smoke in their car if they want. It's their car. They can do whatever they want. But a boundary would be, if you smoke in your car while I'm in it, I'm going to get out. Your car, you can do whatever you want. I just want you to let you know what I'm going to do if that happens. That's the difference in boundaries. We're not actually trying to change and control people. We're deciding what we're going to do if we're in a situation where our toes are stepped on. Not our preferences, not like you don't want the same thing as me, but if they actually come into our space somehow. Make sense? All right. So I want to show you a couple of these in work. So first of all, this is Ambrosia, and she is a VP in healthcare. And so her problem was she hadn't taken a lunch in 7 years. I don't know if any of you are bad at taking lunches. She felt drained when she came home to her family. And her CEO said, I want her to have more executive presence, to be more concise and more strategic. And so the way that we worked on these is through those different sections. So for results, she needed to learn executive essentialism. And so that executive essentialism taught her to, really make things the critical few instead of trying to fix everything. And then relationships was on boundaries. so that she could have more of that time and capacity. Even things like she used to let people come into her office at any time. And so then we just created some actual office hours for her so that she could have her own dedicated work time to get things done. Rituals for physical and emotional energy. She was a CrossFitter who had given it all up because it didn't perfectly fit into her schedule. And she just wasn't putting herself first. And so we worked on those things and down regulating throughout the day when things were stressful. She had a pretty stressful work environment, as you can imagine, in healthcare. And for results, executive system strategy and storytelling. And this is one of my favorite things to work on with leaders because we're never taught this. We all have a way of managing projects where we get work done at work, but no one ever teaches how to manage up. And that's what this is all about. How do you make sure that your CEO, your lead team, knows exactly what your team is working on and why? That they can see that strategic roadmap for the future, that they know exactly where the project is at all times, and that you're able to have a cadence of communication where you keep them abreast on the project and say, remember how I told you that there's 5 phases to this? Well, we're at 3B right now. And here's the risk we have coming up. Here's where I'm gonna need some help. And we're right on schedule. Right? So when you have all of that in place and you combine it with my favorite thing, which is a here's what we're not going to do list, right? These are the things that are in the parking lot. And these are the things that we've all given a head nod that we're not working on this list this year. Because you guys have all, I know you can give me like a fist of 5 on this one. I know everybody's had it happen where they tell you what the priority is and then they add something, then they add something, then they add something. Oh, yeah, no, that's still the priority, but this one just has to come first. Just make sure this one gets done too. It's like, wait, they're all number one priorities? Like, what are we talking about? Right. And so we also make and give a head nod to the things that we're not going to be doing. And then we have that cadence of communication with leadership where we're showing them exactly what we're doing for our group. And then you know how they see you. Oh shit. Samantha's really a strategic leader. I know exactly what her team is working on. It's to the things that we said were most important to our organization. I always know if she's on track for plan. She proactively communicates with me if she needs anything or is running into any speed bumps. And I don't want to give her random ass projects because I know her team's working on important things. That's the other cool part of it, right? Is they stop giving you all the office housework and random projects because now they're like, oh, I get what they're working on. I don't know what Tommy's doing, so let's throw that over to Tommy. And so this is huge. And so let's look at the outcome. So Ambrosia said, I take vacations now without my laptop and regular lunches with my team and friends. I talk to the board and CEO with confidence, knowing exactly what matters and what doesn't. I remember her telling me, she's like, it just feels like everything slowed down. They asked me about something, I know the only 2 things that matter, and I just explained that. She said, I'm back into CrossFit. I volunteer in my daughter's classroom. I got promoted, and now I'm consistently evolving. I'm so thankful to have found Shayla and the PH formula. So let's do one more. And this is Ellie, and she was actually on our webinar yesterday and joined us live then. And she has been on the podcast. So if you want to check out that episode, it's amazing. But she came to me after being told that she should be grateful for her 3% raise. And so I know you said you resonated with that before, but she was like, I know I'm exceeding expectations and they told me I should be grateful and it just doesn't feel right. But at the same time, I don't know that I have all the confidence to go out there and do something because I still feel some imposter syndrome. Give me a fist of 5 if you ever feel imposter syndrome. And she described it as she thought she had little girl communication tendencies. And she goes, then I try to talk to my friends about it. And so many of us feel this. I try to talk to my friends about it, but nobody gets it. She was like, I mean, I have lovely friends, but they're not in my industry. They're not in corporate America. They just don't get it when I talk about the pressures at work. And even when good things happen, like I can't share those wins because they're not making the same income level as me, or they just don't appreciate what I'm going through. And so I told her, I said, hey, listen, if you don't have the belief yet, that's okay. You can borrow mine until you do. And I promise it'll come fast. And it did. It was such a fun process working with her. And she's still one of my one-on-one clients right now. But within 6 months, we worked on executive presence and storytelling, executive networking, physical, emotional energy and cultivating joy, and mindset. And we did the model, silly little people, let go and take charge. And so here's her results. Within 5 months, She got a new job. Her base increased by 45K, and she got more a higher bonus structure and a higher long-term incentive stock. She said, but more importantly, I 10x'd my happiness. I walk into my new role with executive presence and confidence, and people immediately look to me for guidance. And that's one of the coolest things that my clients talk about is how like they were feeling insecure, almost like the intern at their current job, and they walk into the new one and everyone's like, wow, like super impressed, ready to get all this feedback from them, have them present as an executive in all of the meetings. And it's just because they like forgot who they were. And we just get to remind them, they get to show up as the badass that they are. Right. And so some of this is also about being in the room. When you're in the room with other women and other men at this caliber that really are these senior leaders that feel like they're stretched thin, that feel the pressure from all of it, but they are grateful for what they have. But guess what? They want more. And when you're in that room with those like minded people, you just like instantly level up. It's so fun. So she said, I'm no longer triggered by rejection or underpayment. I know my worth and I ask for it. At one point, she interviewed with somebody and they said, you want how much? She's a chief information and security officer or a director of security and information. And they asked, like, you want how much? And she was like, oh, she was like, that's crazy, is what the recruiter told her, right? And we already knew what range she was in. I mean, I was in HR for 20 years. I got this, right? So we knew she was in the right range, but this company didn't want to pay that much. And so she just calmly goes, instead of thinking it had anything to do with her and being insecure and saying, maybe I am asking for too much, maybe this is crazy, she just goes, oh, it's totally fine if you're not in the range. We might not be a good fit. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So that's that kind of confidence. Like, it's totally fine if we're not a one match. There's lots of fish in the sea. It's just like dating. You got to, go on a few dates before you choose who you're going to marry. And so that's what we did. And within 5 months, she found the perfect company. She said, I built intentional relationships. I protect my energy with daily rituals, and I make decisions based on my values without guilt. I love that. The sky's the limit. I see more potential in my life, in myself and my life than I ever thought possible. So that is Ellie. So now we're at a point where you have a choice and you can stay in the tragedy of the high performer or you can make a change. And so the change is the performance and happiness formula, and you can do it on your own. I offer a free newsletter. You've got the podcast. But if you want help, if you want somebody beside you as you do it, and you want to be in a room full of other leaders that really motivate you to level up instantly, then I want to share with you the system that I created to do just that. And what's possible for you is these higher level roles with less stress, more money and more influence. Nothing bad ever happened from a woman making a shit ton of money. Luxurious amounts of time for the moments and the things that matter the most. So you can be like me. I'm like the only mom at the football field that's not stressed about running around with kids and not complaining about how busy life is, right? You can be fully present at work and at home, and you can feel alive again. Not just survival mode, not just about trying to be productive. And so you need a system. You've seen the problem and the solution. Let me show you the system and program that I built just for you so you don't have to do it alone. It is called the Performance and Happiness Lab, and you get every module that we just looked through that you need to improve your results, your relationships, your rituals, and your mindset. So you can be a happy, high-performing, and highly paid executive. The program is $10,000, but I told you guys how many times I was that leader that they like patted on the head and said, just do a good job and good things will come, and just kind of like strung along. And so I really admire when leaders are ready to take their career and their lives into their own hands. So if your company's not sponsoring this and you're paying for it yourself, then I cut the price in half and it's $5K. And if you need it, I do have an option as well for a 3-pay. So you don't pay $5K today. You can make 3 payments for the lab. So that is possible as well. And so what I want you to do is to go to ShaylaKing.com/PHLab. And that is where you can sign up and you can choose the option of either the 5K or the 3 payments. And so choose which one that you're interested in. And you actually get a bonus if you sign up on the call tonight while we're on the webinar. So I'm going to take you through what that is, you can go ahead and sign up now. And then I can call you out too, because we love anybody who is decisive. We talked earlier about that really being an executive skill set. So if you know you want in and you want to make sure you secure your spot, go ahead and tell me in the comments too if you've signed up, and I'll call you out on the call so that everyone can know that you are in and start to see who all is going to be part of this fall cohort. So it is the last cohort of the year. We are going to start on October 20th and it will go through February 8th because, of course, we take luxurious amounts of time off for the holidays. And so it'll run a little bit longer than the 3 months, but you'll get all 12 weeks of content. So let's go through what all is included. You saw the categories earlier, and this is how they're organized. So each month, you're going to get one module from each section. And so you can see which ones are included. We'll go through executive presence, networking, physical energy, and the model in month 1. In month 2, we'll go through executive essentialism, boundaries, emotional energies, and the high value versus low value cycles. And then in month 3, we will go through that executive system, strategy, and storytelling, and you'll create your personal map, right? So you're going to come out with your deck that you show your boss all of the time to keep them updated and apprised of what's going on. And it's the one that they can share with the CEO. It's exactly that communication tool that you need to be seen as a strategic leader. And we'll go through personal relationships, designing joy, and the let go and take charge module. So by the end of it, you're going to leave with your personalized promotion playbook. So this is out of those 12 modules, what do you specifically need and your action plan for that? All right. You'll also leave with your executive relationship plan, and you're going to be working on this during those 3 months. So you're going to already have traction on it. But this is an actual tool that I have for you that you're going to design both internal to your company and external. I have some people that say, I for sure want a new job outside of my company. And so they may focus more on that external one. And then I have some people that go, no, I love where I'm at. And I'm still going to make you make an external one because that's part of bulletproofing our career. But most people are going to fall where you're going to want to have both, because at the end of the day, you want options. And so it can help you get promoted in your company. It can also help you get more work done in your company, but it can also be your path out. And one of the cool things is you're going to be in a cohort with other leaders that will help you open doors. So if you are looking for a new role, a new company, a new environment, then these are the exact people that will help you find the right resources, or it may be at one of their companies as well. And they can do that warm welcome and warm intro for you. All right. You're going to also leave with your rituals blueprint. So this is so cool. It's your custom recipe. So we figure out what do you need to feel and perform at your best. And then we make your custom recipe for that. And most people go their entire life without figuring this out, which is kind of wild. Like, we figure it out for houseplants. If you have a houseplant that dies, there's like an app you can take a picture and you can be like, it needs more water, it needs more sun, it needs like eggshells, it needs espresso. I don't know what people put in plants. I don't do it. But I know that there's a lot of details to this, right? And we spend the time on the nuance of figuring out what our houseplant needs to thrive, but not our own bodies, not our own souls. And that's what this is about. It's the luxury of giving yourself the time to intentionally design a life you love. And I use the word luxury on purpose because, what a freaking cool thing that most people don't get or aren't in a position to give themselves. And it's once a week of having dedicated time to do nothing but improve your life and to work with a coach whose only goal is to help you improve. It's wild, right? So take the luxury, invest in yourself, and you'll never look back. There are, I'll show you a few more success stories from clients as well. But first I want to talk about that network of peers to up level. So you've seen already some that are going to be in there. We had Dr. Anna on earlier. You saw leaders like Ambrosia and Ellie that I work with. And so I was going to just show you a couple of more. Okay, so Scott is going to be on the podcast this week. And he said, if you do the Performance and Happiness Lab, you'll be hooked. Do it for your career and enjoy the benefits in your personal life. I did it for executive confidence and presence, and I got that. But I also transformed my relationships with my kids and changed my internal talk. I can't even put a price on that. And you guys, you know how I was talking about the 5% mindset earlier? Oh my God, his story, you've got to hear it on the podcast. He actually had a heart attack 3 weeks ago, got 5 stents put in. He was driving by himself in a car and he said, Shayla, I was cool as a cucumber. He's like, this work has worked. And the nurses and the doctors were all commenting about how different of a patient he was because I wasn't worried at all. He goes, at the end, they kept worrying about like, we were worried about your mental health and do you have a therapist? And he goes, I'm excited about Scott 3.0. And he is like, I'm good. I've got a coach. I'm good. And it's just this different mentality that even when you go through some of the hardest things in life, you can use. So we'll use it for the daily annoyances and those people that be people in at work, and we'll use it for the big stuff. And it will be a tool that gives you resilience when you go through hard stuff because life will keep lifing. So other leaders that'll be in there. Here's one of my clients that is a CHRO. We finally decided that she was ready to start looking for a new role. And so we do this process called know and declare. We knew and declare what she wanted. Y'all, within a month, she got a new role with a 500K base. And she's like, Shayla, I'm retiring my husband. Isn't that so freaking cool? So freaking cool. And it was funny because she was like looking at a role in a state that she told me she didn't want to live in. Cause she's like, I hate it when it rains a lot. And she was like looking at a role in Seattle. And I was like, we're not doing that. Like, we're not going to settle for something that's okay. We're going for extraordinary. And so this job actually lets her live anywhere she wants. So she doesn't have to decide yet. And one of her biggest goals was that she wanted to she has a brand new grandbaby and she wanted to be able to travel and see the grandbaby a lot. So it's freaking perfect, right? This is what happens when we know and declare what we want and we start working for it. And then let me give you one more. So this is another client. She just got a $24,000 raise. And she said, I knew this wouldn't have happened without you. But my favorite win is how we restructured my evenings to have time with my kids, my spouse, and myself. And that was life changing. And that's what I'm telling you. Most people come for the money, they come for the promotion, but it's always the happiness that they're talking about afterwards. And you deserve both. So I want you to ask in the Q&A if you have any questions about the program. Just as a recap, you're going to get 12 recorded sessions that are on results, relationships, rituals, and mindset. So that's included in the program, right? In addition, each week on Tuesdays, we're going to meet and I'm going to go live and I'm going to teach you the lesson live and we're going to coach. And so it's called hot seat coaching. So if you haven't been part of it before, what it looks like is that you raise your hand and you ask your question. And because of the kind of coach that I am, you get to ask on any variety of topic that matters to you. If it has to do with increasing your performance or your happiness, it's game. Okay. And so you'll get to ask your questions and get coached. And it's so much different than buying a program that you watch modules online and then you're left by yourself to put the work into place. You can't ask questions. You can't go back. This is real. You get to test it out. You get to try it. You get to come back with questions. This worked. This didn't. What should I do different? Right? And so I led leadership development for over 15 years in corporate. And so I know exactly what works for executives. So this program was designed with so much intention for being the best structure and container and format for you. So you'll get the recorded lessons, watch those on your own time whenever you want. Weekly, you can come to the live sessions. If that doesn't work with your schedule, they're recorded. They're going to be posted. No problem. You're also going to get something, because I've seen this happen so many times where you go to a training, it's motivational, you're feeling good, and you get back and you're like, okay, I'm going to put this all into place on Monday. Monday comes and wow, Monday was a whirlwind, so much to get back to. The email box was full. Give me like a fist of five if that relates. Like so much good intention that we have when we come back from something like that. And then before you know it, life's back to normal and we haven't done anything with it. So because that happens, I intentionally designed in this time for real implementation every week. So on Fridays, you're going to have an afternoon session. We call it Future Fridays, where for the first half hour, all it is dedicated to giving you time to implement that week's lesson. So I'll always give you like a short mini lesson, and then you can go apply it. So if you think about the one that's on creating the executive network, it might be identifying the people, going ahead and reaching out for some coffee chats, that sort of thing. So real applicable stuff that you'll use in your real life. And then the second half is built for you to create the network with this peer group. You're going to be surrounded by the most amazing people. You're going to want time with them so you can actually have these relationships. I've been part of other containers and they're like, oh, yeah, we care so much about the community. And there's literally not a minute where the person isn't facilitating for people to actually get to know each other or like actually communicate. And so this is built in every week. It's an optional session. So if you want to build the relationships and the discipline of having time pre blocked on your calendar helps you with implementation, then you'll love this. And if you don't need it, no problem. You're going to get the value in the network alone. You're going to get the value in those pre recorded videos alone. So this is all extra, and every executive gets to decide how to utilize their time. And there's no right or wrong way to do it, but I'm going to teach you to be really empowered about how you use your time. And so you're going to design this program in the way that you want it, but I've given you every option you could want as part of it. Okay? You're going to have the tools, the templates, the frameworks. That's all going to be inside of your portal. You can download them. They'll work for you at any company and any role. So these are tools for your lifetime. And then I can't talk about the network enough, but they'll open doors for you. You can say, hey, I've got my first meeting with the board. Any tips for me? I'm really wanting to get into this industry. Who knows someone? Can you give me a warm introduction? Or this is going to be weird to set up a coffee chat with somebody I don't know. Like, what do I say? Can I role play with you? What my opening would be or what I should write in my email? It doesn't matter what it is. You can ask your peers for any of it. And everyone in there gives as much as they get. And there's just such an amazing group of peers across industries and companies. And then the final thing is really immersion week. So I know you want to hit the ground running and make progress immediately. And so I designed immersion week where over your lunch hour for the first week that we kick off, we're digging deep, we're going immediately. And so I'm going to give you something actionable where you can feel like you have progress that first week. And we're going to make sure that you have the time available to work the program. And so I'll start to go through questions. You can go now to ShaylaKing.com/PHLab so that you can sign up. It will opens today and it will go until it sells out or October 5th is the very last time. So the webinar bonus though, this is for if you sign up tonight during our webinar, and you can either do the full price, the one-time payment or the 3-pay. I don't care either way. You'll still get this bonus, and you'll get the bonus based on a timestamp. I know we get questions on that, so we can tell when you purchased it, and so you'll get it based off of that. And so it's a 2-part time management workshop with me, and it's so cool because people always worry about like, will I have enough time or not? And so this is what is going to give you the confidence that you will. So like I said, you're going to get more time back in this program than you can ever imagine on its own. But just to give you some extra confidence, we're going to do this before we even start the program. So we're going to have 2 sessions. The first one, I'm going to teach you some time management hacks. We're going to go ahead and get 5 hours back in your schedule. And then I'm going to give you some activities to do. And then we're going to come back together. And you're going to say, okay, I tried this. This worked. This didn't. Let's talk about what we want to do next. And we're going to have that second session where you get to ask your questions, see what worked and what didn't. So if you join today during the webinar, you will get that as well. So let me start to go through some of these questions. Okay. And you guys can as well go on ShaylaKing.com/PHLab. There's a million more testimonials. I think I put a few more in here to show you because I know that people like to see that. One question that came up was who will be in the PH Lab. So I've shown you quite a few people, and we've had some on the call to give you an idea. But I coach corporate leaders who are responsible for big results at work and want more from life, but they already feel stretched too thin. Here's some of the companies. So we've got like Coke is the largest privately held company in the world. McKesson is a Fortune 9. Kaiser's huge. I don't remember where they fall in the Fortune 50. Georgia Pacific, NetApp, Molex, Spirit, EY. Of course, EY is one of the biggest companies in the world. Wayfair, everyone's heard of them. And then there's just a ton of nonprofits and startups and regional companies. So across the board, my clients come from everywhere and they work in all different industries. And so personally, I've worked in almost every industry but healthcare. And now all my clients are from, like, I've had tons of clients from healthcare. So I feel like I've gotten my perspective now from working with so many healthcare leaders. So I'll let you take a look there at the different industries that they're in as well. And so they all run strategic initiatives. They lead global teams. They deliver under intense pressure, all while raising kids, managing households, and asking themselves, Is it possible to be ambitious, be a great parent, and actually enjoy life? All right. So I think I've got, yeah, here's a few more results just so you guys can see. Promoted in 3 months after being stuck for 3 years. So yeah, this gentleman had tried everything. He had tried for 2 years internally at his or 3 years internally at his company and 2 years on LinkedIn applying to everything and wasn't getting anything. We worked together on knowing and declaring what he wanted and really working on his network. He's a perfect example of that doesn't matter how good you are if they don't know who you are. We had him seen internally and he got the GM role that he had wanted for 3 years within 3 months. It's wild. Um, the next one, a 90K raise, and I actually like my job now. This is a really cool example, too. She was one of those that's literally started as an intern and had been at the company for over 10 years, was working as a global product manager, had an engineering degree, but wasn't being taken seriously because they still treated her like the intern. She actually went to a competitor, started out with her base at 90K more than it was. And everyone was so excited to hear about her experience and respected her as a leader. It was a really, really cool one. And then another one said, I feel calm when I talk to the board and my CEO. And I'm present at work and home. My whole life is better. And I'm joyful. I'm prepared. I am in control. No words can describe this transformation since working with Shayla. That one was Carrie's. I don't know why we didn't add her name because she's okay. I always add names once they've like been on the podcast or like filmed with me publicly. And then otherwise I give people their privacy. Um, but, but you can listen to Carrie's episode as well on the podcast. It's a really fantastic one. And so let's go through the questions. When do we meet? So we are going to start. I told you that immersion week is the first week where we meet at lunch every week. That starts October 20th. And then after that, the rest of the time we have the exact same schedule every week. So you can put it on your calendar like clockwork. On Tuesdays at noon Central, I am going to be teaching live and taking coaching and offering coaching live. That happens every Tuesday at noon Central. And then on Fridays at 2 p.m. Central is when you have that peer-led implementation and networking call. And so that's every single week. And the replay of my coaching call will be put online in your portal so that you have access to that afterwards. All right. What happens if I can't make every session? It's totally fine. Like I said, this is designed for a busy executive. So I would recommend that you spend at least an hour a week, 1 hour a week, whenever you can, to go through the content. And if you can do that, your life will change. Now, if you want to be like a deep, studious person, give me 3 hours. 3 hours means you're going to come to my live call on Tuesdays. You're going to come to your implementation and your peer call on Fridays, and you're going to give yourself 1 more hour for watching the videos or implementing and really working on moving these things forward. So that would be kind of the max. And all of the activities that you do are going to be things that help you immediately in your real job. So it's one of the things that people are often surprised. They're like, I thought it was going to be like getting a master's degree and I have 15 to 20 hours worth of homework a week. Like, no, no, no. We have fun. It's light. It's not another heavy thing added to your plate. So, um, will I get to ask personal questions? Yes, you sure will. Let me look real quick. So again, if you've already signed up, you can put your name in the chat. I've gotten a few that I want to call out. And this is also so fun because you get an idea of who's going to be in the program. So you can just get a feel for what level of people, what industries, and there's always such a variety. It's so fun. Okay. So we have Olivia, and she is a director of a nonprofit. We have Laura, who's a director of HR. We have Lynn. Let me see here. She's a vice president of data governance. We've got Jess. Jess is a CEO of a nonprofit. And scroll here. And we've got Sabia, and she is a regional medical scientific director. So welcome all. It's going to be such a fun cohort. And as you can already see, so many industries, so many functions, and just an amazing group of people who are grateful and they want more. So fun. Okay. Let me see if I have other questions. I'm on vacation during that time. Doesn't matter. I think I covered that. Um, so, nope, you'll have access to the portal. You can catch up at your leisure. Will I get to ask personal questions? You sure will. You just raise your hand. And one of the cool things with the hot seat coaching, I never knew how helpful it would be for me for other people to get coached. There's just something different when you don't have that pressure anymore. When they're not just here I can stop sharing so that I can just see you guys. Um when you don't have that pressure anymore, for it to be your coaching, because sometimes you get a little bit defensive or whatever when it's your situation, and there's other times where I just hadn't ever thought of that question, and I'm like, "Oh my god, that's a great question, that really applies to me." And so I love being able to hear my peers get coached as well and having that safe place that you can go every week for something that's just going to move you forward. All right. I think I covered the questions for now. So I'm going to do one more recap and then see if there's any more. And then if not, we'll jump right off. But it's so exciting to see all you guys jumping in. I know there are a lot of quick action decision makers. And you do have that 3-pay bonus, which I think is helpful as well. And then, of course, the webinar bonus, where you will get to be part of the time management workshops. And those are going to be so fun. It's something I haven't offered before, but I'm like the queen at time management. I run my business in 30 hours a week. And I was actually working about 25 to 30 hours a week as a chief people officer. And so that gives you an idea of how good I got at discernment and being able to keep making more and more and working less and less. So, let's recap. 12 recorded lessons on the results, relationships, rituals, and mindset. Let me know if you have any questions on those modules, and I'd be happy to answer them. And then we've got weekly live training and hot seat coaching with me. So you'll get direct feedback, real time breakthroughs. So much fun. Peer led implementation and accountability sessions, tools, templates, and frameworks that you'll use forever, a powerful professional network. These people, like, it's not even just who's in the room. Just imagine how many people these people know. So maybe their spouse works in the industry that you want a job at, or at the company you want a job at, or maybe their mom or their friend does. Like, it's so just beautiful to see how this works. And my clients have already opened doors for each other in the past. And this is just another opportunity to, you know, be able to be in the room with powerful people. And then, of course, the immersion week. So we're going to kick this off with momentum. You'll learn that about me. I like to get shit done. And so we're going to go fast, and we are going to make a difference. I really care about your ROI. So I want you to get a return on your investment from the price that you paid. I want you to get that return in both your performance and your pay at your job and in your happiness. And we'll make sure that you get it in both. And the cool thing about this is, like, those leaders that I told you with those raises that they made, I mean, they're making more for the rest of their life, right? And then that next role after that. And so this really can be your catalyst to the career of your dreams and to stop being stuck. Got to get out of that tragedy of the high performers. All right. Any other questions that I can help with? All right. Well, with that, I think I got it all. And thank you all for being here today. If you have any questions at all, you can email us at support@evolve-career.com. Or if you're just on the fence and you just need a call with me, just shoot me a note. We'll find a few minutes. We can get on a call, talk about your personal situation, and make sure this is the best bet for you. So again, that's support. And can you put that in the chat for me, please, Abby? It's just support@evolve-career.com. Thank you for spending your Thursday evening with me, and I hope that what you learned here today will be a catalyst for you to immediately see some improvement in your performance and your happiness. See ya. Bye.